The Boston Celtics are back, and boy, do they look better than ever. I didn't think that was possible. Genuinely. How does the Boston Celtics win the NBA championship and then come out in game one and look like they had been playing all summer long together and they haven't taken a single day off? They blew out the New York Knicks, who are supposed to be, predicted to be, the second best team in the NBA Eastern Conference. We beat them 132 to 109. And I mean, it's not just beating them in the box score, right? It's beating them in every facet of the game. When you look at the points, the rebounds, the assists, the Boston Celtics just completely dominated, taking 29 made three-pointers, tying a single-game NBA record. If they made one more, they would have made franchise history. But 61 three-pointers overall, shooting 47% from downtown, 50% from the field. They were cleaning the glass, and unfortunately, they don't show defense on box scores, but man, oh man, they were locking players up. But Smitty, I want to talk about Jayson Tatum, who was the game high, team high, 37 points. He started off very hot with a double-double to start the season. And let me tell you, Jayson Tatum, he worked on his jumper and he worked on his three-point shot in the offseason. And I saw that, and I'm like, I think it's going to make a little bit of a difference. How big of a difference can it make? I mean, the guy is already, 6, 7 seasons into his NBA career? It was a huge difference in what I saw.
Started off this game, Celtics, I believe the Knicks called their first timeout when the Celtics led 30-17, and Jayson Tatum had 15 of those points.
Yep.
And the clear difference, the jump shot looks more smooth. It's coming within the flow of the offense. And let's face it, tonight Jayson Tatum was just hot, and he wanted to prove some people wrong. Celtics legends in attendance, and he said, I'm just going to take this game by the throat and just dominate on all facets of the game. 10 dimes as well. I mean, this is the playmaker that we knew Jayson Tatum had evolved into nationally once the postseason hit, right? This is who people have known Jayson Tatum to become now. A player who just initiates his offense and is the connector between everybody on the Boston Celtics. And on a night like this where he is scorching hot from long range, they're unbeatable.
Genuinely, there was no stopping them. Whether the Knicks wanted to or not, they were down from the beginning, and they tied it up, and it went back and forth the first couple of shots start this game, and then the Celtics just ran with it. And I want to make a note here that he went 8 for 11 from downtown. He was 6 for 9 in the first half.
Yeah.
He went into the locker room shooting 6 for 9 from downtown.
And then he came in, shot 2 for 3 in the second half. Like the Celtics, when that third quarter hit, they just hit their first 2 threes of the third quarter, and they just looked like they didn't miss a beat. Looked like the game kept flowing from when the halftime buzzer sounded. It was unbelievable. And I mean, that's thanks to Derrick White. It's thanks to Jaylen Brown. I mean, it's thanks to Jrue Holiday. Everybody on the Boston Celtics was raining them from downtown tonight. But obviously, we got to talk about the Finals MVP making a big-time impact as well, getting out in transition, hitting the outside shot. Allie, what did you think of Jaylen Brown's first night tonight? I know the shot chart, 7 of 18, not too efficient, but 5 for 9 from long range. Let's go, JB, knocking him down efficiently.
I think the number one thing I noticed about Jaylen Brown was his size. I think that muscle mass definitely is going to play a big factor going up against bigger bigs, and especially going up against Cat, because knowing that Jaylen Brown was guarding Cat for some of this ball game, I thought that he matched up with him very well. There were a few times where Cat did get him on the wing, and a couple of times a nice spin move would get Cat 2 points, but overall, Jaylen Brown's offense is still very efficient, and I think that there's been a lot of the same storyline over and over again. Who's going to be number one in the Celtics? And I think still their connection, their chemistry is still as good as it was in June, on June 12th or 17th, whenever they won the NBA Finals, shooting 56 from downtown and still allowing Jayson Tatum to shoot 8 for 11. I think that it just goes to show that there are still plenty of shot creators, shot makers on this team, and Jaylen Brown cannot score 23 points if Jayson Tatum, Derrick White, and Jrue Holiday don't set it up for him, and vice versa.
Absolutely, and you talked about Jaylen Brown guarding karl-Anthony Towns there. He's so switchable. They had him guarding everybody on the floor for the New York Knicks. He had Jalen Brunson in clamps there in the second half when there was no real path for New York to cut back into this lead where it would be a real game again. Shout out Jaylen Brown on both ends of the floor. He looks like one of the best two-way players in the league, like he left it back in June. Also, shout out to Derrick White, the second leading scorer.
It keeps going.
The second leading scorer on the team, 24.
60%. You're looking at 77% from Tatum, 56% from Brown, 60% from Derrick White, 66% from Drew Holiday. It just keeps going. 60% from the Dominican father of 5, Al Horford. Show me a weak spot. Point out the weak spot in the Celtics roster because I can't find it, Smith.
I mean, aside from Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, who both didn't shoot it too efficiently. That's fine. You know what? They want to know why this is so skewed? Because the Celtics were chasing history in the fourth quarter. They were chucking threes.
This was garbage time. This was garbage time. And they were the last hope to try and beat the most ever made three-pointers in a game record. That's the only they would never, ever take that many threes back to back to back if they weren't trying to achieve something.
Yeah.
And I do think that still, with Pritchard and with Sam Hauser, their defense will never show on the box score, but I was extremely pleased with Sam Hauser specifically, who seemed to be one of the only players that knew how to stop these New York Knicks leading scorer, Deuce McBride, in the second half. Sam Hauser's defense is still by far one of my favorite attributes that he brings to the table.
I mean, 100%. I mean, everybody on this team has just evolved defensively, and that's what happens when you bring a guy in like Drew Holiday. That's what happens when you bring a guy in like Derrick White and have the Al Horford connection that's been here for so many years. That's who's made Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown better defenders. This team as a whole feeds off of each other, and it's a testament to how Brad Stevens has constructed this roster, how Joe Mazzulla has coached them up and he helped them evolve to the next level, and now they have championship DNA, and they're murdering teams their first trip back out in the 24-25 season defending their title.
And I also want to make a point here that they had every excuse to flop today. They had every excuse to be distracted and not come out and blow out the New York Knicks. They were Celtics legends. They just got their shiny new rings. They walked out in a swaggerful white jacket. They saw Banner 18 get hung. There was every reason for the Celtics to not win this ball game, and instead they took those reasons, crumbled it up, Kobe'd it, threw it in the trash can, and blew out the East contender, the New York Knicks.
People think to be the biggest threat in the entire NBA to the Boston Celtics, I guess, because they're on the road to the NBA Finals, is this New York Knicks team. And I know that they're new together. I know that this is not the New York Knicks team that we will potentially see come late May. But, man, what a great first impression for the Boston Celtics, looking like they haven't skipped an entire beat.
And I will make this a point, but before we get into the Knicks side of it all, I do want to ask you guys real quick to do one thing for me and just put your shams in the comment section down below. If you're glad the Boston Celtics are 1-0, if you're glad Boston Celtics basketball is back, all you guys have to do is spam your shams. We're going to get down into the Knicks part of this all in the back half of the show, but first things first, if you guys are glad basketball season is back, and if you guys are glad that crossover season is here, NFL still going, playoff baseball is here, and if you guys want basketball, go test your skills on PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I play PrizePicks, Smitty plays PrizePicks, everybody here at Chat Sports plays it, as well as over 10 million active users right now. If you're asking me, Allie, how do you play? All you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. So my picks for tonight's game, which, thanks to Jayson Tatum, was good. 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Karl-Anthony Towns, more than 11 rebounds, and unfortunately was not the case, but it was kind of a poopy game. And then Anthony Edwards. The beautiful part about PrizePicks is the promotions. And if they're just going to hand me a free win and give me Anthony Edwards at least having 1 point, I'm taking it. Those are my PrizePicks. If you guys want to test your skills, all you have to do is download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
I want to talk a little bit about how the Celtics, I guess if you consider that, I'm considering this very much contained Jalen Brunson tonight. They did not let him get into a rhythm whatsoever. They switched which defenders they would have on him. Derrick White, hats off to you. Fantastic job on the ball against Jalen Brunson.
And Brown. I liked Brown on him.
Oh, of course, Jaylen Brown toward the back half of this game was fantastic on the ball. And we know Jalen Brunson is one of the best creators in this league. We also know that Derrick White is one of the best guard defenders in this league. And what we really know Derrick White to be better at, though, is the help defense, the getting in the passing lanes, the chase down blocks, meeting people at the rim. He is a fantastic on-ball defender, but those highlight defensive plays are more what we know him to be. Tonight, he was glued onto Jalen Brunson. Shout out to Derrick White. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. The looks that they were throwing at him. This is how you defeat the New York Knicks. You have to contain Jalen Brunson. He's their number one source of offense. But, man, hats off to them because this game would have been a lot closer if they let him get into a rhythm.
And one thing you said here about Jalen Brunson being one of the best shot creators for the New York Knicks, too, is that not only did you lock up, in my opinion, Jalen Brunson, you also locked up his resources. He really had nowhere to go. When you crowded Jalen Brunson and gave him 0 shot, he also had nowhere. Yep. OG Anunoby locked up. Mikal Bridges did not look good in his debut.
Josh Hart wasn't a threat.
Josh
on the
Hart
perimeter.
I was not even worried. The only part I was worried about Josh Hart was his free throws, which he made a few times to the line this past ball game.
Interesting about Karl-Anthony Towns, though, not a huge bit of usage from him on the offensive end. And I thought he was doing a very good job against the Boston Celtics, taking guys like Al Horford and even Drew Holiday when he was defending him off the dribble and scoring with ease. And the Knicks never really seemed to go back to it. That should have been something, in my opinion, that they fed Karl-Anthony Towns, especially in that second quarter when the Knicks were hitting a couple jumpers. Him and Jalen Brunson were hitting a couple jumpers and getting the Knicks back in and cutting it to under 20. Like, that, you got to feed Towns. He's easily scoring on these Celtic defenders.
Something that was very surprising to me is knowing that Tom Thibodeau will run his players into the ground. He will just play them until the sun comes up. Is that Karl-Anthony Towns split time with Jericho Sims, each having 24 minutes. And we were talking about that in our pregame, talking about who's going to come in.
Is he just not acclimated to the system yet? That's probably the idea here. I mean, Jericho Sims, shout out to him. He didn't play too bad overall.
Right. But he's not Cat.
He's not Cat, and I think obviously won't be a normal night for Cat. As far as
I don't.
Knicks.
That's kind of the way I was going here. Is that with Bridges and Towns, and Bridges, yes, 16 points, but I also want to put out that
he struggled in the first half.
Struggled. A lot of these points came when the game was pretty much already over late in the second half. But also, the beauty of the Celtics is that they don't have to deal with this. I know that it's scary when a lot of teams start to bulk up like the Knicks and get Bridges and get Cat. It gets scary because Celtics didn't make any moves, but that's the point. The Celtics didn't need to make any moves. The Celtics just got to hop back in the gym in the preseason, in the offseason, and they just get to play with the guys they just won the NBA championship with. There is no gelling concerns, and the beauty of it is, we talked about it during the game, they don't even have Porzingis yet.
They don't. Nope,
you're forgetting they still have Porzingis. And they just cleared him.
Unbelievable. I want to see. I can't find. Oh yeah. Okay. This is a staggering number, man. The Celtics tonight, 33 assists, and hats off to the 29 3-pointers you made because most of them were assisted. But shout out to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and a couple of these guys who were sizing up defenders. Jayson Tatum had a wide-open 3 at one point, decided to wait for Jericho Sims to come defend him, and then just pulled up in his grill.
I love
nothing
that.
but the bottom of the net. 33 assists for the Celtics on their 48 made field goals tonight. 3 turnovers. They played a flawless offensive basketball game tonight until they were literally 1 3-pointer away from setting the all-time record for threes made in the game and started playing a little bit sloppy. Celtics basketball is back. They are dominant. Historically dominant.
And also, to make the 3 turnovers sound even better, the Knicks had 11.
Yep.
And a couple of those did come with the bench players coming in at the back half, but they beat them in every facet. Steals, the Celtics had 6, the Knicks had 2. They each had 3 blocks. They had 3 turnovers for the Celtics, 11 for the Knicks. And they only had 3 more personal fouls at 15, while the Knicks had 12. So the Celtics were just sweeping them. There was no response. There was no life in New York's eyes. And honestly, that's how the Celtics need to be in every single game moving forward if they want to go back-to-back. Leave no mercy, leave no doubt.
I'll close what I have to say with one more thing. If Jayson Tatum plays like this, nobody's beating the Boston Celtics. That's the simple fact of the matter. If he plays like this on a nightly basis, I know maybe not in the efficiency category, he was scorching tonight, but man, if he plays anywhere near this caliber on a nightly basis, nobody's beating the Boston Celtics. It won't even be a question, especially if he's shooting the 3-ball like that.
And what's cool is that if Tatum doesn't do it, Brown is capable of doing it. Derrick White is capable of doing it. And it just goes on and on and on. We're going to wrap it up here with the last question. If I see anything other than an A in here, what game were you guys watching? Grade the Celtics' performance tonight, A, B, C, D, or F. And as always, please hit that sub button for me. We had a hell of a night. Over 55,000 people joined us for the NBA season opener. We've got a lot to talk about. So if you guys want to join for free, all you've got to do is one simple thing here and subscribe.